Spacey Sims, and we are back with more London Detective Mysteria. And we are in Akechi's route, and we were just helping him and Kobayashi search for the missing vases. Woo, we found one. And now we were walking, and it's gonna take more time because we were interrupted, and we were about to be interrupted by Akechi in the midst of pondering. Stopped without warning. Without warning. Wow. Akechi? Something wrong. I'm sorry, but might I ask you to wait here a moment? With a small sigh, Akechi turned round. Neither of us knew where he was looking. We followed his own gaze until we noticed a familiar boy. Rick? Oh! A short boy with dark hair. Well, hello, Rick. How long have you been following us?
I never knew you were following us. Very impressive. You just might make a worthy student for Akechi after all.
As though emboldened by Kobayashi's praise, Rick clenched both his fists tightly, looking directly at Akechi.
Please teach me everything you know. Please!
He's still asking, I see. He truly is determined to be Akechi's student. Is that the extent of your business with me, Rick? If you're that insistent on becoming my student, I shall require proof of your resolve.
Proof?
If you find yourself unable to meet my demand, I would ask that you stop following me. I harbor no small contempt for those who are all talk and no action. His declaration made, Akechi cast his gaze away from the child.
But... Rick, wait!
Rick, looking thoroughly downhearted, turned and ran, heedless of Kobayashi calling after him.
Come off it, Akechi! Did you really need to be so harsh?
At least now he should no longer be inclined to follow me. Oh my god, Rick is gonna get kidnapped, didn't he? Oh, I just realized this whole thing we were talking about. Oh, this cult that steals children. Oh god, Rick is gonna get stoled. He's gonna get Rick napped. Oh my god, we're gonna have to go on a Rick rescue. And he's gonna be like, it was just to show you that I was. Oh dear lord, we're gonna get Rick rolled by Rick. Oh, he's gonna be like, I did this just to prove to you. Like, what? You set this all up, Rick? Evil mastermind. That's it. Rick is the culprit. Anyway. Even in the face of Kobayashi's withering glare, Akechi held fast to his position. He's gonna feel so fucking bad when Rick gets kidnapped, isn't it? We don't have a lot of choices left after this. And we literally have 2 choices in the next chapter and then none in the last 2. But anyway. After all, being constantly followed by a boy is little more than an annoyance. And a distraction besides.
A boy? A kid? You could have worded it more gently. Anyone's feelings would be hurt the way you spoke to him.
If all it takes is for one to relinquish their all it takes for one to relinquish their hopes is a few painful words, their mettle was never truly behind it to begin with. Akechi's words cut to the quick, more so now than usual. It struck me as forced.
Of all people, I would have thought you most mindful of the pain that comes with being rejected by someone you respect. I hate those who trample on the feelings of others, and you aren't an exception, Akechi.
Oh, Kobayashi! Kobayashi pivoted around to follow after Rick. Akechi made no attempts to stop him. He stood in place, not a muscle moved, not a blink of an eye, and watched till his friend was gone. Akechi, should you not go after... Fulfilling our client's request takes priority. The response was blunt. Adjusting his sword slung at his waist as one might a scarf, he continued on with his work. And this time, I was the one who stood unmoving. Akechi was so different in that moment. He's left me behind! Oh, wait, Akechi! My thoughts were all a jumble, but that was no excuse to stay and do nothing. Organization would have to come whilst I ran. Akechi? I suppose we could have done that in the last part, but whatever. Yes. What Kobayashi said must be bringing him back to what happened with his own master. What should I ask him? Oh, what should I ask? Oh, what was he thinking? What happened earlier? Nothing? But the terse tone of his voice stilled the words resting at my tongue. Nothing. Miss Whitley, you are many things, but a good liar is not one of them. Huh? Here's what I think. Kobayashi, prefacing it with some warning along the lines of not wanting to go into detail, proceeded to tell you what transpired between myself and my master. Or so your reaction tells me. Do I have that many tells? You do. And I meant no criticism by pointing it out. It simply makes plain the honesty of your upbringing. And if my own upbringing is not as plain, then allow me to clarify. I have no regrets concerning my actions. If anything, I'm privileged events transpired as they did. It brought me to these shores, and it taught me at a great price that reliance on others is not to one's benefit. Sometimes you have to rely on others, you poor precious thing. Kobayashi has continued to dwell on the issue since then, much like I have. But I've never once permitted myself to be swayed by the opinions of others. I think for myself and hold to my own convictions. Akechi's grip tightened round the sheath of his sword. You made your decision not to take on any students very clear, but is there some other reason you were so severe with Rick? Oh, what gave you that impression? When you refused him, you appeared apologetic to me. It hurt you. You have an eye for observation. As a detective should, you know. I suppose you're right about that and what you said. Now, the students who attempted to have me arrested by Scotland Yard knowingly gave false evidence to the police and will be punished by the Academy for doing so. But rather than dissipate, I expect their grudge against me will grow. There's every possibility that those around me may become victims of their attempts to do me ill. I thought of I thought it's for the best if he keep his distance from me, unless their malice fall upon him. The shadow beneath his eyes was not from being tired. The pain he carried was heavy, nerve-wracking down to his soul, for it was not only his pain, but every potential person who crossed his path, and for each new person he met, the pain was heavier. I know you meant well, Akechi, but the manner in which you addressed him will only give him the impression that you mean anything but, as was my goal. Then he would prefer to be hated than risk someone being hurt on his behalf. Akechi is a fool, and he's so awkward at showing just how kind he is. Did you say something? No, it wasn't important. I see. Still, after discussing it with you, I should have better chosen my words. And I ought to have realized that myself without Kobayashi having to angrily. And I should have realized that myself without Kobayashi having to angrily point it out. I can see I still have much to learn. Don't look so sad. Please, stop looking so sad. Cheer up. Everything will be all right. Well, that's what sad people need to hear. Cheer up! Because it's something you can just magically do. I know she's coming from a good place, but still. It was all I could say. Miss Whitley, you spend so much effort doing all you can to aid those in need that you lose yourself in the process. Rick is a clever boy. He must know it as well as I do, and that's why he's approached you again and again and again and again. I read too many agains in there, but still. I don't like that you've tried to lead him into misunderstanding you as a person, especially when there's so many wonderful things about you. And this is the first time anyone has tried to encourage me in such a fashion. I couldn't read him then. He was uncomfortable? Confused? I'm unsure of the most appropriate response. I, all I can say is thank you. He searched and paused for the answer, then seemed unable to find anything that was proper and spoke without any calculation. It was the most gentle, youthful version of him I'd ever seen. The contrast with his usual self-sufficient air of maturity came as a bit of a surprise. I wish there was more I could do. To aid him and support him, whatever the endeavor. I couldn't help but feel restless, though I couldn't entirely say why. The two of us continued our search for the remaining vases. It then became 3 as Kobayashi approached.
There you are!
Something was amiss, for he was very short of breath. Kobayashi? Kobayashi? Is Rick? He could not finish.
Remember what you said to him? That if he wanted to be your student, you required a proof of his resolve?
Kobayashi gripped Akechi's arm and dug his nails in so that it must have hurt.
That's what you said. You're responsible for what he does to show you he's serious. Now go and watch as he does just that.
What are you talking about?
Rick said he would do whatever it took for you to accept him, and now he's gone and made a mad dash after them.
Who? Kobayashi explained how he and Rick had just happened to catch sight of the students responsible for Akechi's unjust arrest as they were plotting what further trouble they might cause him, and how, ignoring Kobayashi's warnings and attempts to stop him, Rick pursued.
You may wonder why I'm here instead of chasing after him. In short, because I want you to see his resolve for yourself. You won't take him at his word unless you do. Hurry up and watch carefully.
As the poor kid gets himself killed.
He's doing just what you wanted.
Kobayashi's unusual chipper expression was wholly absent. Oh, Kobayashi's usual chipper. Wow. Expression was wholly absent. In its place was one of ironclad seriousness. Very well. I don't believe I have any choice in the matter. Akechi and I followed quickly after Kobayashi. Slipping down a small back alley, we could make out several voices.
You want to try saying that again, kid?
Stop being so pretty, Adam. His name should be Chad, because he's a douche.
Stop! Stop doing terrible things to Akechi!
You came sprinting after us, just say that? You daft! As if little shit like you could do anything to us. Get lost!
I can't! I won't!
Facing down the group of boys, each far larger than himself, Rick clenched his fist tightly, his whole body shaking. He looked as though tears might well up at any moment. However...
Not until you promise! When you promise that you won't do anything nasty or mean to him anymore, then I'll leave!
Rick shouted now, the will of his body audible in his quavering declaration. Even still, he refused to take so much as a single step back. Rick!
What now, Akechi?
Akechi stood silent, unmoving. Akechi? I called out to him timidly. I cannot claim to know anything about your relationship with your own master. Still, I think Rick's admiration of you and desire to follow in your footsteps are genuine. So don't be afraid of him looking up to you as his master. Just as Akechi looked at me in surprise, events took a turn.
You don't know when to turn tail, do you? I said get lost, kid.
One of the boys drew back his fist, then took a swing at Rick. Watch out!
He's fine, Spacey.
Kobayashi's stubborn tone from before had been replaced with complete calm.
Akechi would never turn his back on someone determined to try their absolute best.
Oh. I love it when they do these. It's like it reminds me of Danganronpa where they jump in and they're like, wait, that's not right. In the midst of the trials. And so it played out before our very eyes.
It's that foreigner.
Master! Even when trouble doesn't find you, you seem to find it well enough. Akechi had interposed himself between Rick and the boy, catching the young man's punch with an open hand. Damn. The boy's shouts of cruel glee gave way to silence, and they tensed at the very sight of him. Could you imagine you're going to punch some little kid and some guy just jumps in and grabs your fist? Like, dude, Akechi. Wow. I mean, just saying. Here's the first lesson. Making no reaction to your opponent's attacks is as good as welcoming them to strike you. Still, I cannot very well upbraid you for your foolishness without recognizing your courage. It was as though I peered into a glass and saw reflected my own self in my greenest years.
What? Damn it! Let go of me this instant! I said let go!
His arm now tightly wound in Akechi's grasp, the boy cried out in pain. Throwing himself free of the hold, he backed off warily. And this is not the first time I've told all of you that this is beneath a man of dignity to raise his hand against a child. That it is beneath a man of dignity to raise his hand against a child.
I don't got time to waste remembering the howls of a monkey in spectacles.
Now they're making fun of him for the glasses too. Wow! You just can't let anything go, can ya? Why don't you make fun of his fabulous cape? Don't make fun of it. It's glorious. Don't make fun of it. That cloak. God. Akechi is glorious. You shut up, Adam. I'm trying to think of a really good nickname. Adam. It's the best I can come up. All right, anyway.
Don't start getting full of yourself, you damn Oriental.
I can't believe I have to say shit like that. Like, it just... Someone is going to be walking by my door hearing me scream these things. Oh, God. So...
We're gonna beat you and your friends so hard, you'll never show your faces at the academy ever again.
I had intended to turn a blind eye to your behavior, so long as I alone was the target of your spite. However, it seems I didn't make myself clear enough last time. Miss Whitley, would you be so kind as to look after this? But this is your katana. Pulling the sword from his belt, sheath and all, Akechi placed it in my hands. Then, reaching down, he took up a stick that was lying near his feet.
What? Aren't you gonna use your fancy sword?
I don't need a sword to kick your ass, Adam. The name doesn't lead to any other better. Anyway, douche weasel works, but I refuse to turn my blade upon ordinary people. I believe I told you that once before. Please, hold on to that until after I'm finished here. Oh, I can't wait. Certainly. I clasped his katana tightly in my arms. She's holding it. I'm holding it like I would hold you. Just kidding. It's heavier than it looks. I'm amazed he carries it at his waist every day. I'm just mumbling today. I don't know. And with each passing moment, the weight of it seemed to grow.
Do you need any help?
That won't be necessary. I'll leave this to me.
Got it. You act tough now, but let's see how much it takes to make you cry. Hey, you will. You're gonna regret picking a fight with us.
Just to be clear, I'll not hurt you any more than proves necessary. Akechi swung his stick through the air, as though testing its heft. Seeming satisfied, he raised it above his head, pausing for but a moment. Come, permit me to show you.
He's like, come at me, bitches!
Yeah. In one instant, both Akechi and his assailants attacked. But rather than a frenzy of slashes, Akechi employed against all three only a single broad slash. The motion was so quick that the humble stick seemed to blur and vanish before my eyes. All came to a standstill. Gasps of pain were all that told me time was still constant.
Ah!
They just got stick slapped. I'm a stick slap you, like literally one whack, whack, whack across their faces. Ow! The three crumpled face down in the alley, seriously with a stick. They simply lay there as though the mere act of drawing breath required of them labored effort.
Master, that was amazing!
Rick's voice rang with dew-eyed admiration. I'm stunned he was able to subdue them with a single attack. Akechi is truly amazing, right? Like Rick, I found myself struck with wonder and admiration for Akechi's masterful swordsmanship, stickmanship. He did it with a stick. Akechi, what are you doing? It's just what it looks like, attending to their wounds. But they were trying to hurt you. Their wound. Wounds plural, because there's multiple wounds on multiple people, but there's a single wound on multiple people. Yeah. The pain of the blow will have been intense, but if seen too promptly, it should subside as quickly as it came. My words at face must surely have conveyed my bewilderment, but if he felt any of the situation's heavy irony, his matter-of-fact response did not betray it. Rick, your idle hands would be better served assisting me.
Yes, sir!
With great skill, Akechi tended to the injuries he had caused only minutes before. The boys weren't sure of what to think once they were tended to.
Ow, I don't get it. Why would you help us?
Because I'm not a douchehole like you. My aim is to become a detective, not a warrior. The katana I carry with me is a weapon to safeguard people. And when I do hurt others, at the very least, I want to treat their wounds with my own hands. That's all there is to it. It's nothing you need to concern yourselves with. I do it for my own self-satisfaction as much as anything. They continued to gaze at Akechi, wholly unsure of what to make of him.
Aren't you angry? We've been trying to drive you out of the academy. I hated that people expected more of you than us when you're not even English.
I hated that people expected more of you than us when you're not even...
That everyone made such a fuss over you just for being from the Orient.
I bear you no ill will. The people tend to be unkindly disposed toward foreigners in all corners of the world. I fully expected my presence here would be met with hostility. You should live with the pride that you were born of English. There's a place for you in this country that you can call home, and you'll be acknowledged fairly for your abilities as well. Indeed, I am certain that here, among your fellow countrymen, you'll find it far easier to be loved for your accomplishments than I. It was a tone of indifference, but his words were directed squarely towards his former enemies.
That's actually quite moving.
What?
I haven't felt really moved like this since the time we watched the sunset from atop the schoolhouse.
Funny, I was thinking the very same thing. I just switched their voices or whatever.
I was too. What are they going on about?
Still in pain, but over the worst of it, they worked to stand as a team so that they could face Akechi properly. But they gotten stick slapped before. And like, he stick slapped them before and they didn't, they were like, no, now he's like done it. They're like, all right, okay, apparently this guy can kick our asses with a fucking stick. So I'm just saying we should just leave him alone. It only took 2 tries, but. Is there something more you need from me?
There is. We've been inspired by your chivalry. We'd like to learn everything we can from you.
We'll be like brothers. Please. The 3 of them stood, eyes sparkling before Akechi, and he's like, the fuck? I didn't even want Rick. The number of students he's collected is growing by the day.
Akechi, if you don't say something, I half expect they'll stand there forever. Could do with a nice bow the way it's done back home, of course.
I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I only have time for 1 student. Just 1? Quite. I think, having never taken on a pupil prior, a 1 student is all I can handle.
Who is it?
Oh! Akechi gently tousled Rick's hair. Rick gazed up at him, eyes wide with surprise. What are you smiling about?
Listen, Akechi, I know I said hurtful things to you before, but I wasn't serious. It was in the heat of the moment, you see. Knowing you, I began to worry that you may have taken what I said seriously and be upset.
I would do no such thing. It was at that juncture that I realized I was still clutching Akechi's katana. Akechi! I forgot! I still have your sword! I held the sheath blade out to him. I asked you to look after it, and you have my thanks for doing so. You didn't find it heavy, did you? Uh-huh, very much. The blade that, in the tension of the incident, had seemed so ponderous in my grasp now felt light, and Akechi took it from my hands as though it weighed nothing at all. Not at all! I mean, my arms hurt like fuck, but since it's so important to you, I wanted to keep it in good care. You have the right of it. It is something important to me. One of the most important things. And yet, in that moment of danger, it occurred to me that it would be safe in your hands. Reflecting on it, I'm not sure why I thought that. Akechi then turned from me. My heart swelled with both embarrassment and pride. Later, thanks in no small part to the 3 boys, we were able to recover all the remaining vases. Several days after, Akechi and Kobayashi paid another visit to their client, this time to return what was once lost. The client had been overjoyed with their work. He expressed that if he ever required such services again, he would telephone them without delay. Kobayashi's face fairly beamed as he related the story, and even Akechi seemed more sprightly than usual. Seeing them so happy and hearing them share their triumph, I couldn't help but feel uplifted. There was nothing quite like a bad day ending in good cheer. It's not clicking. I feel like his is going to go faster than the other ones. But then again, well, it's only because if you think about it, we've got 3 more chapters. But this one, the Black Magic Cult's Trap, could be long. We only have 2 choices, but it could be a long chapter, I don't know. Akechi had proven successful in locating the missing vases, gaining the respect of some of the Academy's less well-mannered students, to the surprise of all, but none more so than himself. And though gradual, he and Kobayashi found themselves the recipients of more and more investigative work as time passed. As a result, he would often need to leave classes early to see to his clients' cases. My apologies, Mr. Mackenzie. You have my word that we'll make up for the class time we missed at a later date via supplementary coursework. Fortunately, students unable to attend lectures due to work outside of the academy was not an uncommon issue, and classes wherein one could cover missed topics were often held for just such a reason. Most students would grasp at any excuse they could to avoid extra time in class, but Akechi isn't most students. He really is a hard worker.
What? Me too? But then I won't have any time for my inventions!
Kobayashi, whilst time is limited, it's surprising just how much of it can be found if one has desire enough. Besides, I cannot overstate the importance of Mr. Mackenzie's lectures. It's vital to one's education to make up for any class time lost, and now that you understand that, We must be off.
Who said I understood any of that? Honestly, it's because you always try to shoulder every burden alone that your communication skills never improve.
Good luck, Akechi. I wish you well. Thank you. I shall endeavor to do what I can.
I swear, she may be the only one who truly understands you.
Mr. Mackenzie, if you will excuse us.
Stop! Are you ignoring me?
Just hush up and come along. She may be the only one who understands you. Oh my god, you're embarrassing me. Oh, just hush up and come along.
Take care, and I'd be most appreciative if the two of you could be a bit quieter and more cooperative with one another.
The two of them left the classroom, Akechi half dragging Kobayashi out behind him.
I'm amazed those two haven't tired of that little charade. Plays out nearly every time they need to leave class early.
I suppose you're right. Still, I'm glad they get along well.
They've been pushing themselves hard lately. They must be tending to outside jobs almost every day.
Indeed, though I cannot help but feel they're spreading themselves thin.
Might that be your way of expressing a mild panic, Holmes?
Me? Panic? Why should I have need?
In the unlikely case it escaped your notice, Akechi's marks in class are second only to yours, and his performance has only improved with time. And now, he's seeing no shortage of work. It might be your cozy position at the top of the class is it might be your cozy position at the top of the class is at last being challenged.
He tends to his business in the way he deems best, as do I. I haven't the time to ponder such nonsense.
Nonsense? Huh. Were you also aware that Akechi and Kobayashi opened their own detective agency? You're their top competitor.
There's these. My favorite glasses nerd!
Watson, from all I'd heard, they haven't started their own agency. They were hired on by one.
What? Really?
The owner heard of their reputation and invited the two to come and work for him.
Is this true, Miss Woodley?
It is! The owner's name was Dejar, and from what Akechi has told me, he seems a very kindly person. He and Kobayashi leapt at the chance, of course, as they hadn't many opportunities to venture outside the academy before. My thoughts drifted back to the look of happiness on Akechi's face when he broke the news to me. Oh god, wait. It's like okay. Alright, so we know Sherlock Holmes showed up in Holmes's path and he was in Watson's. He hasn't showed up since. But we know Porlock is in this. Okay. Who, by the way, I'm pretty sure, unless it's just something like Tom Smith and Tom Smith, at least I think is the same voice actor who's doing Moriarty. Okay, not James Moriarty. I think it's Edward, so it's his son, right? Because there's everybody's sons, right? Anyway, so when Porlock showed up in this, I was like, I wonder if the Moriarty is going to be in this route, which is really bizarre. That he wouldn't show up in Holmes's route, but whatever. But we also know Mycroft is in this because we see him in the very okay. I do because I see the beginning every single time I turn on the game. But you guys have only seen it once. But Moriarty's in it, and there's a couple of other side characters we haven't seen. So I'm just really wondering now when they're like, oh yeah, he's in this. Oh god. It's unless Mycroft secretly has a detective agency competing with his brother, which would be fucking amazing, and Akechi works for it. Yeah. Or it's Moriarty, or it's there's something about this is gonna come out, and it's not just a normal detective agency, and I'm just saying. Anyway. My thoughts drifted back to the look of happiness on Akechi's face when he broke the news to me.
If it's all the same with you, I should like to resume this class.
The two have been fully engaged by their work for some time now, but this week especially seemed busier than most. I pray they don't end up working themselves to the bone.
Miss Whitley, are you listening?
Kobayashi did tell me the agency's address. Perhaps I had to pay them a visit myself.
Why not take something sweet with you then? Rare is the person who would turn down refreshments.
Oh, I think that's a fine idea. Wait, Marple, how did you know what I was thinking?
Such a silly question. Your face is an open book, dear. Mr. Mackenzie, the problem at hand has been addressed, so please do continue with the lesson.
He's like, what the fuck? Nobody's listening to me.
Very well.
It's fucking hilarious. We're like, yeah, you can keep going. And he's like, fine. Like, Kobayashi's directions placed the office they were working from north of the Thames, looking out onto the street of Bishopsgate. I read that weird. It should be nearby now. Reassuring Pendleton that a detective must find her way by wit and intuition, and leaping from the carriage without listening to a word he said seemed perfectly sensible at the time. I must confess now that I may have benefited from listening. He said something about all the buildings in this area looking the same. Kobayashi said the building in which their office was located was built of gray stone with flowers planted in front. And now that I was near, that same description, I learned, was apt for each building I passed. Lovely. Just lovely. If only I kept the exact address with me. I sighed, puffing my lips as I looked down at the basket in my hands. Why wouldn't you have the address? Well then, I shall have to go into one of the nearby shops and ask someone. I granted myself the vigor to resume my search. Unfortunately, I neglected to pay heed to the ground before me. My foot caught on a crack in the ground. I lurched forwards. In that instance, I decided, brace for impact. Expecting a frightful fall, I braced myself for impact. Yet before I could hit the ground, I felt someone catch me. Probably Akechi. Yeah. Oh, and he's all shocked and we're like planted firmly against him. Oh, hi. Look at the look on his face. He's so precious. Akechi! It was Akechi who stopped my fall, his expression upon seeing me a mix of surprise and bewilderment. Are you all right? You aren't hurt, are you? Not in the least. But what are you doing here? Oh, well, I happened to see you, thought to say hello, and then went to catch you as you stumbled. Oh, I see. Thanks to Akechi's timely intervention, I was spared a twisted ankle or even a mild cut or bruise. Thank you, Akechi. Anyone would do as I did. I am simply glad you weren't injured. A look of genuine relief washed over Akechi. Also, he's now holding you and he's like, are you going to let me go? I don't want to. I don't want you to either. It's one of the few times I've seen him so vulnerable. That's what happens when you throw yourself at a man. Catches them off guard. That's all I'm saying. I mean, she literally threw herself at him. Like, not on purpose, but I'm just... You know. Whenever I drew close to Akechi, he would always pull away from me. Perhaps due to that, I found it impossible to feel calm with him so close. I could feel his hands supporting me. Not so forceful as to cause me discomfort, but not so light of hand that I feared slipping from his grasp. I could tell that my well-being was foremost amongst his concerns, and my face grew ever flushed when that realization came to me. He's more slender of build than most of our schoolmates, but he's so strong. Is that thanks to his training? Is something the matter? Oh, no, I was just noticing that you're actually very built. I mean, you dashed in and caught me with such ease. Dashed? He paused, apparently lost in thought for a short while, until he too realized this predicament. No sooner had he opened his mouth than his face flushed a deep red that was surely equal to mine. I acted without forethought. Lest you misunderstand, I wouldn't do this for just any woman. I did it because it was you. Huh? But never mind that. I'm just glad you're all right. Saying that, he quickly let go of me. What did he mean by that? He loves you. Now, Miss Whitley, might I ask what brought you to this area? You seem lost. Well, my hands tightened around the handle of the basket I still carried. I don't know this dude, so maybe not. I'm just saying I'm suspicious of everything in this game. What's going on? Well, thank you very much. I wasn't expecting you to have brought enough for myself as well. While I cannot claim to have a refined taste for sweets, this tart is truly exceptional. I can fairly say that I'll not want to eat them from anywhere else now. Thank you, Dejar. Once I had arrived at the office, Dejar and Kobayashi insisted that I join them for tea, and I happily obliged. These two have done impeccable work for me, so I must insist they rest every now and then. I don't believe I've earned a rest quite yet. Akechi seems somewhat disquieted. There seems to be some rather disturbing rumors floating around the city of late. Kidnappings, they say.
Is this the one about the kidnapping? Kidnapper pretending to be a magician?
A magician? That sounds amazing! I should go see a magician! That's why the kidnappings happen. Ooh, magic!
The very same. This is nothing more than hearsay, but from what I've heard, Akechi began to relate to me the rumors circulating in London. The kidnapper is supposedly a man clad in a black cloak. Evidence suggests him to be gathering up poor children with nowhere else to go.
My, you look as though you've nothing to do. Would you care for some entertainment?
That sounds shady as fuck when you read it that way. He gestures, tracing a circle in the air. Then, as though conjured from empty space, coins begin to pour to the ground below. No doubt it's a simple act of, legerdemain? What is that? Okay, I have no idea what that is, but anyway. But see, this is where we need the glossary. Tell me what some of these words mean. Like, but it's more than enough to capture the children's fancy. This one didn't have a glossary, did it? Then the real trick begins.
Well, what did you think? Come with me and I can take you to a place far more magical than here. And there are so many more spectacular things I could show you. Sights to boggle the mind and stir the imagination. What do you say?
You're giving all magicians a bad name, but also this sounds really, really, really skeevy. I mean, he's selling them into child slavery, but it just sounds even creepier than that, you know what I'm saying? According to the stories, he'd used this method to gather great crowds of children all at once, then taking them away with him. He's used this method to gather great crowds of children all at once, then taking them away with him. Then takes them away with him. Okay.
I still think the story itself is rubbish. And the way his appearance is described changed from time to time, you see. In some versions, he was described as appearing with a flashy orange and black tiger mask.
Others said he has fangs like a vampire instead. A tiger mask and vampire fangs? Could someone that outrageous truly exist? He could be wearing a mask. He could change his appearance slightly. Like, I'm just saying. Because if there was a man in a tiger mask kidnapping kids, and you were like, "Don't talk to the man in the tiger mask," and then the man in the tiger mask shows up, you wouldn't talk to him. That's all I'm saying. So then, like, "Oh, that man doesn't have a tiger mask. He's got vampire fangs. He's fine." And then it's like, watch out for the man with the tiger mask and the vampire fangs, and then he can show up and like dress like Mickey Mouse. Well, obviously Mickey Mouse doesn't exist then, but you know what I mean. Oh, he's got a mouse mask. He's fine. And then it's a tiger mouse mask with fangs. Like, and before you know it, it gets so out of hand that he could just show up in a tiger mask, and everyone's like, "But that's not a tiger mouse mask with fangs and bushy ears and a tail, and it's not arm, and it's fine." Like, just saying. I do not get dressed up and go out and kidnap children, but I'm just saying. Anyway. Gonna stop analyzing all of this because it just makes me sound crazy. Anyway. Still, even if the stories are real, and I'm not fully certain one way or the other at this point, I cannot work out what exactly the criminal is trying to accomplish, selling children to, like, as slave labor. Unlike the kidnapper we apprehended before, this time the perpetrator is targeting poor children. Money isn't what he's after, but if not money, then what? An important question. It could be money. I'm going to take a kid that's got nothing, easy to lure, and I'm going to sell them to someone. I'm just saying. An important question, and no immediate answer comes to mind. Or, oh my god, or they're doing, is what they're doing in Black Mother. They're kidnapping children and sacrificing them to raise a demon. Is that it? I mean, wow. It all ties together. They're kidnapping children to throw into a school to fight to the death for a TV show that's being aired. It's Danganronpa. I could tie everything in together, I'm just saying. Akechi's mind had already begun plumbing the depths of the rumors anew, face locked in consternation until he was interrupted.
Akechi, if you sit there pondering cases, you'll surely know the taste of the tarts Miss Whitley has so considerately brought for us.
I don't remember if that's the voice I literally gave him 5 minutes ago, but whatever. Dejar had himself steeped a pot of tea for everyone.
See? Dejar knows how to appreciate food, unlike a certain madman who knows not the power of sweets.
Although was that truly necessary? I'm simply trying to give a bit of serious consideration to the culprit's motives.
There's plenty of time for pondering after your tea. Come along, drink up before it gets cold.
Very well, I shall. Giving into Dejar's gentle prodding, Akechi reached for a tart and his cup of tea.
Akechi, how can you eat something this delicious with the very same face? Liven up, smile, it won't kill you.
However it may look to you, I am thoroughly enjoying my food. He's the expressive one.
Could have fooled me. You never show much interest in food.
Really? I do think he's enjoying it.
Huh? Do you know something I don't?
Well, when we first met back at the Port of London, Akechi showed no interest in the tart I offered the two of you, but took one today without any fuss. Did I? I hadn't noticed. I wasn't sure whether it was his enjoyment of the tart or because he was reminiscing about the past, but Akechi's lips curled into a soft smile.
What? Alert the press! Akechi looks happy. No, it couldn't be a trick of the light. It could be a trick. Oh, it could be a trick of the light. I've only ever seen him look this way when he's eating his favorite sashimi or enjoying a cup of matcha.
Shimmy?
A bizarre Japanese delicacy in which they consume thinly sliced raw fish. I'd never heard of it until Akechi told me.
I admit, I expected the eating of raw fish would be considered somewhat unusual here, but not bizarre.
No need to cast one more worry on the pile, Akechi. There's always fish and chips. That's just delicious.
Yeah, and then we just make sushi rolls that don't exist in Japan, but we think it, and it's sad because you're like, really? So the sushi rolls that we have don't. That's depressing because those are fucking good, man. Sometimes when we Americanize shit, it's good, okay? We bastardize shit, but sometimes good things come out of it. You know, like all the Italian food that's not actually Italian food, but it's still good anyway. I'm not a huge fan of Italian food, but I'm just saying. There's so much stuff that we call Italian food that's not actually, people like don't actually eat that food in Italy. They're like, what? You're fucking weird.
Still.
Anyway, Dejar certainly hit the mark. Eating raw fish was decidedly not a widespread concept in England. As our tea time wound to an end, Dejar informed us that he had business that needed tending to, and we saw him off. After that, I happened to recall something. As curious as I am about how this sashimi tastes, there's something else that piques my interest. I've wondered for a while, but just what kind of place is your home? Our home? Japan? Yes, I've wanted to know more about it for a long while now. About what sorts of things one can find there. What manner of people live there. Akechi cast a sidelong glance at Kobayashi, who was availing himself of another of my tarts before answering. Ah, hi, look how pretty he is. To start, I cannot neglect to mention that Japanese women take a great deal of care in how they present themselves. Behavior is under the utmost scrutiny. I realized I began to lean forwards in my chair and slowly worked to straighten my own posture. Perhaps he wouldn't notice if I went about it slowly.
Yum! You see, when it comes to Japanese girls, everyone loves the Yamato...
Nadeshiko? Nadeshiko.
The traditional beauty with long black hair. That's your type, Akechi, isn't it?
Oh. But black-haired traditional beauties? I had to glance at my own hair for a moment. Blonde. Decidedly anything but traditional or beautiful. I fail to see what relevance my tastes have to this. Besides, Kobayashi, it's a poor show of manners to talk whilst eating. Still, just as we might liken a beautiful woman to flowers in full blossom on the plains, we turn off into nature in Japan, revering and worshipping it. In spring, we watch the cherry blossoms bloom and fall, and that sounds like so fucking amazing. In the summer, we turn to the blue skies above. Autumn nights are filled with the cricket's trill, and winter blankets us with snow's chill. So we do eagerly anticipate the return of spring. The Japanese find beauty in each of the 4 seasons and give thanks to each of their blessings. And it's not simply towards nature that we feel gratitude. We feel obliged to our fellow man as well. Modesty and humility are considered virtues, both in women and men. We strive to understand the feelings of others without them having to be given voice. Such a feat is impossible without first showing consideration and concern for others. Being shown such consideration leads people to develop a sense of duty and compassion towards others, particularly those in need. So you revere grand concepts, intangible things like nature and the seasons. I can tell you've internalized those virtues. As long as I've known you, you've been both dutiful and compassionate. I found myself recalling the graceful poise of Akechi's movements when he drew his katana. I have a long way to go before I'm worthy of such praise.
Akechi spoke softly with a face that in its tenderness reminded me of the moment when he placed his hands upon Rick's head. Japan is a wonderful country, no less so than English. I have been born and raised there. To have been born and raised there is ever a source of pride to me.
And me!
Having finished his tart, Kobayashi was at least free to open his mouth once more.
Japan's full of amazing food, too. I'd love to treat you to an onigiri with fresh white rice or a monaka. I'm sure you'd find them delicious.
I'd love to see Japan's Four Seasons one day. I'd love to try an onigiri and a monaka as well. Is it monaka? Monaka? I don't know. The accentuation and where you say things. I don't know, but... Oh, look, he's so precious. It may have just been a trick of the mind, but in that moment, I sensed a fleeting loneliness in Akechi.
Getting there is ludicrously difficult. The journey is hell if you're not good with boats. Once you're out on the ocean, there's nowhere to run.
I'd be alright, I'm sure. I don't get traveling sickness. Have you been on a long fucking boat ride? I'm happy you've developed an interest in Japan. However, I'm afraid I cannot recommend you actually visit. Why not? I was taken aback at his interjection. He seems different now than he did just minutes ago.
Keiji?
If an immodest woman like you were to set foot there, I'm not sure anything good would come of it. For you or to the citizens. Immodest? The people would take you to be a representation of all English's women. A problematic proposition at best. And I doubt you would be able to sit in the Saiza style, with your legs folded under yourself. Backside resting on your heels. Yeah, no, seriously, because Jesus, that would hurt. Oh, I most assuredly can. How dare he? That wasn't his assumption to make. Oh God, she's gonna hurt herself.
You can? Have you tried before?
No, but I believe I could. You can't. I think you may be underestimating the fortitude and willpower required for it. In fact, I'm certain you would give up within minutes. I can imagine it now. Yeah, probably. We will eventually need to return to Japan and give a report. In that report, however, I would stop short of describing you as a representative of a typical British woman. He's being much too critical of me. He's trying to stop himself from loving you. He's like, yeah, whatever. You're just, whatever. You're not awesome or anything. That's basically what's happening here. It reminded me of him when he rejected Rick's request to become his student. Before I could spend another minute fretting over Akechi, however, a pertinent detail amongst what he said caught my attention. Oh, wait, you'll need to go back? Of course we will. We're not here on holiday. I suppose he's right. They came here as exchange students, so it's perfectly sensible that they would return. But why? His master kicked him out. His family disowned him. Why do they need to go back? Got nothing to go back to. That's all I'm saying. Akechi spoke of their inevitable return to their homeland with complete indifference. To him, it was just one more stepping stone in his path. So why did it weigh upon me so heavily? Because we love him? And it makes me a little sad, like, oh. That the two of them would one day leave was simple truth. A truth I didn't wish to face, and in any other path, it'd be fine. You're like, oh, we'll miss you. Come back. But not like, my love is gone, you know. Our return will not be happening anytime soon, so you needn't look so forlorn at the subject.
He's right. If you start feeling lonely about something so far in the future, it'll make it doubly awful when we really do leave.
Kobayashi gave me a kind smile, but that only caused the lump in my throat to catch all the more. I suppose you're right. I need to make the most of the time we have together. There's so much more of England I still want to show you. And the two of you are always working so hard. I truly hope you're rewarded for your dedication. I appreciate the sentiment. My mind played another trick on me. This time, I thought I saw the light in his eyes quiver behind his spectacles. The three of us can't stay like this forever. Oh shit. I wish we could stay like this forever. I was like, wait! I'm like, what's the right choice? My thing went blank. Those two will return to Japan one day. And when they do, when will I be able to see them again? Well, it's possible that I shall never see them again. That's far, far too sad to think on. I wish they could stay here, that things could remain like this forever. It wouldn't be right, though, that I would try to hold the two of them captive to my own selfishness. The last thing I want is to bother them so. Even if I wish they could stay, I simply can't say it outright. I considered it rationally. It made sense from every angle of logic. It did! but my heart still ached thinking of that day when we would have to part. There's more to what he said. He doesn't want me to go to Japan. But Akechi has never been like this with me. He's admonished me, yes, but never in such an unfeeling way. He's trying to push you away because he loves you. Oh! What was it that caused so sudden a change? I couldn't find an answer. It's really funny though. He's like, he likes long black hair. I mean, I'm just saying that in Japan, that's pretty much what you're gonna get. Like now, yes, girls probably dye their hair, things like that. But like, then I'm thinking there wasn't a lot of Japanese women bleaching their hair blonde back in the day. I'm just saying, like, like. Anyway, Kobayashi heaved a sigh after. Um, Kobayashi heaved a sigh after Spacey left the office to return to her mansion.
Akechi, why did you say those things to her?
To what might you be referring?
Don't play dumb. Her? A poor example of a British woman? I don't know if I've ever heard that from you before. And then you tell her that you don't want her to visit Japan? Don't play dumb on that either. I know what you meant. It was terrible.
I was being fully truthful in my assertion that I'm proud to be Japanese. Akechi could not meet Kobayashi's eyes. You know as well as I that our culture's emphasis on tradition and decorum leads them to those from other countries in a negative light.
So if she were to visit Japan, she might face discrimination, and you want to prevent that from happening. And I got it right.
You do?
Good God.
Kobayashi slumped his shoulders in disbelief and glared at the detective.
You may be right, but you really are a world-class blunderer when it comes to articulating your intent. Smart my foot.
And what is that supposed to mean?
What I mean is, why couldn't you tell her the truth? The truth is easy. Tell her that discrimination exists everywhere, and Japan is no exception. You can even warn her that she might be accosted in the street just by being a foreigner. I don't believe Spacey to be so weak as to let something like that stop her.
I never implied that she's weak, if that's what you're saying.
But that's how she'll see it. You refuse to treat her as an equal, and the more you say what you don't mean, the bigger the wall you build between you.
Akechi darkened upon hearing Kobayashi's chastisements. Read that properly, Spacey. Good lord, I can't read today.
Are you gonna lie to me again? Tell me you felt nothing when she looked upset.
Suppose we still take my personal feelings into account. What ought I have said?
You ought to have comforted her.
Well, you seem to possess no shortage of ideas. Perhaps you'd be far better at it than me.
Is that all you have to say? Really?
Kobayashi, just what point are you attempting to make?
It's obvious to anyone who isn't an idiot. If Spacey were to visit Japan and was treated poorly, you just have to be there to defend her. When she's sad, you just have to be by her side to comfort her. It may be awkward, but that's all she would need. Or so I thought, but it seems I was mistaken. You don't have it in you to care for anyone but yourself.
I feel like Kobayashi says these things to Akechi to hurt him and to push him. Like, you're just so mean to Rick. You're a horrible human. And he runs away and he's like, oh, he's right. I was being a dick. Like, he's like, you can't care about anyone but yourself. That's not true. I love her. God damn it. Oh, fucking Akechi. And Kobayashi's like, okay, you couldn't figure it out. I just wanted you to come to that conclusion. Like, you're in love with her. I am not. You can't care about anyone but yourself. That's not true. I love her. Oh, Kobayashi, you genius. Kobayashi's a smart little bastard.
I realize that you're giving your utmost to have your ability recognized by your peers, and there is honor in that. But at the end of the day, saying unkind things you don't mean simply to push people out of the picture makes you guilty of the same mistakes as your master.
I would ask you not bring him into this. At the mention of his master, Akechi's left hand tightened around the sheath of his sword. Saying unkind things you don't mean. There isn't a need to whitewash it. My master cut ties with me. And I don't care to continue this conversation, even with you.
Ugh. All right, that's how you want it. Still, you best not push others away, bottling up all your woes whilst they cut at you from within and never speaking of them to anyone. It isn't healthy.
Akechi remained silent, his face still as a stone. Kobayashi could only give another exasperated sigh.
That's just like you. As soon as you know you're in the wrong, you stop the conversation. Arguing won't help. I'll drop the subject for now.
How generous of you.
I do think on things a lot, you know. Far more than you give me credit. On that note, there was something I wanted to discuss with you, actually. About Dejar.
So you noticed, then. The mention of their employer caused Akechi's head to snap up.
I did, though likely not before you. Though likely not before you did.
Dejar has given us no shortage of work. We've investigated cases of infidelity, suspect company finance, missing pets, and performed numerous background checks on a variety of individuals.
But each time we conducted any such background check, the individuals under investigation seemed to summarily disappear. And just before disappearing, they're invariably cited at
Saint Spira Church. Okay, I couldn't read that. Dejar is charitable with his monthly donations to the church also. Unnaturally charitable when you consider his personal means.
Right. A rather surprising trail to stumble upon when investigating one's own place of employment as an offshoot of one of those company finance cases. And then every Tuesday and Friday evening, without exception, he always goes out. We don't know where, but there's only one way to find out. Knowing that, what should we do? You must have a reason for keeping this to yourself once you noticed.
The both of us owe Dejar a great debt. Casting aspersions upon someone whom we owe so much would be a bitter repayment for his kindness.
Doubting someone who's done a great deal for us must be difficult for someone as dutiful as you. And I agree. He seems in every respect a good man. Still, I wouldn't rule out any possibility. Queer as it may sound coming from me to you, don't let your feelings get the better of you.
I understand that. I'm giving the matter serious thought, of that I can assure you.
Are you? You got a horrible habit of running off and trying to sort out the worst of it on your own. It worries me. It really does.
I'm sorry for your distress.
If you're sorry, then what stops you from at least attempting to change it? And whilst you're at it, stop being so hostile with Spacey. The men of this country are kind to girls, so step up.
Akechi fell silent, his face bent into discomfort. Okay, this is the perfect place to stop. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this part up here. I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.